Hey, this is John Carlos, and I'm here with a look at the Star Wars Black Series vehicle of the Snowspeeder with Dak Ralter action figure. Now, I don't see an instruction manual in this, but it seems to be pretty easy to figure out before I put this panel on. I just want to show you guys a closer look at the guts inside the Snowspeeder. But yeah, let's just go ahead and put this panel on. And we'll attach this little doohickey. Next up, the blasters just push in like so. Here's the other one. Man, that was easy. Harpoon gun plugs onto the back. The harpoon cable plugs onto the side. And we're donezo. Now, the rest of the tow cable is kept inside this little flap. And there's plenty of it, so you really could, you know, pull it through, and then when you're done you can just pull it back in and just wad it all up inside this little flappity flap. The only nitpick I have with this is that, you know, you got the same plug here as you do up here. I do wish the plug was detachable from this point like it is in the movie, so when the tow cable is away and you actually see it like, boop, pop off. I wish you could pop it off that way instead of feeding it through there, but oh well. Another nitpick I have is that the sides of the blasters, you can see the edge of the Sculpt. You can see the plug sticking out on the side and where it ends, and that's a bit of a bummer. At first I thought, did I put these on wrong? But no, I didn't, because the holes go straight down, and there's only one way for these plugs to go. But you can see, I think Hasbro screwed up here, because there is a flat section here, right? And the flat section would be flush with the ship, but the plugs don't go at the right angle. They're angled inward and they need to go straight down. So there's only one place for these to go, and that's over here, because that's where the plugs line up with the direction of the holes. But based on not just the flat angle, but the fact of where this Sculpt kind of ends, you can see that it's sculpted to lay this way, with the open side flatter against, like this is actually sculpted to be correct, but the plug is going in the wrong direction. Like Hasbro screwed up. The plugs are going at the wrong angle, forcing you to put them this way. But you could tell it was designed to go this way, but the plugs are wrong. Those nitpicks aside, I gotta say I'm really happy with how this turned out. It came out better than I expected. First of all, the general surface sculpt is more detailed than I was expecting. You look at every little panel, all these little sculpted lines that go through, and all the little rivets. It's good sculpt, including nicely sculpted battle damage along certain edges of it. Here's a better look at some of the battle damage right along there and there, but also the paint that kind of enhances the battle damage. The paint on this is really solid. You look at like the parts of the engine here that are kind of dirty. Just along the blaster. I don't know if it's considered carbon scoring or just general dirt, but the dirt and weathering on this is really good. Also, the paint that's supposed to be kind of chipped off. You can see these edges that are kind of worn down. Obviously, the Snowspeeder has seen some wear and tear. You can see just like the lettering on the Arabesh is a little chipped and worn down. The gray sections along the back of the engine here are all nicely chipped. The off kind of white colored panels against the gray, the red, all the little writing, the little hazard signs. I think there's a lot of really nice paint detail and a lot of nice sculptural detail within like the little engine-y bits. Even just right along the edge of the blaster here, I think. Just that sort of gack looks really nice. So, surface, well done. Great sculpt. And the paint is really clean. We also get little bits of like articulation on this thing. We have these little like air flaps that move a little bit into that position. And we also get these, which a lot of the flaps on this, they're cool, but some of them require a little extra thumb lifting. This one went pretty easy, but that's a neat bit right there. Let's show you the other one. I really dig these air flaps though. If there's any point of articulation that I wanted them to include on this and get right, it would have been the air flaps. Which one you like release, and then there's like its own hinge comes up. Which, let me see if I can get you a better look at the fact that there is like its own, it's not just a flap here, there's also a hinge there. And that, I think, looks really, really cool. There's a wider look with the air flaps up, and yeah, I dig it. Now, like I just said, these can be a little tricky if you don't have firm thumbnail beds. You feel like you're going to rip your friggin' thumbnail off. But there we get that little leg flap. Here's a closer look at this one. Also, besides being really kind of stiff and scratching the shit out of your fingernails, the little flaps, they pop out really easily. Like it doesn't take much for these to just sort of, I don't want to do it, but these they're just a little plug that just kind of fits right into the thing, and they snap out right easily. Anyway, here is the landing gear hidden in all those flaps. See, that's what I'm talking about. They just sort of snap right out. They're easy to put back in, but they snap out quite easily. Although one nice thing about all these is that once you open them, they all have like a little sculptural detail inside. They could have just left that flat plastic, but there is gack in there, so that's cool. I was a little concerned about the landing gear because the rear landing gears are attached to a flap, and I thought that being attached to a hinged flap might be a bad idea. But the landing gear is really solid and stable, and I got no complaints. Now, opening the hatch is a little tricky. There's a thumb notch in the front, but mine, the front right corner tends to stick, and it always feels like I'm gonna do some damage to it when I open it. I never do damage it, but still, it feels weird. It sticks. Now, the inside of the hatch has some nice sculptural detail to it. They didn't need to include that, but they added the padding and the wiring, and I love that they included the little lever to pull it down that Dak would use to pull it down. Some very nice details in this cockpit. Let's see if I can get you some better lighting in here. You can see like the controls for the harpoon gun are in there, but also the general like surface of like all the control panels along the side edge are very well sculpted, and you can see like the yellow and red paint. So there's some very good details there. I dig that. But I dig that you have Dak's harpoon command like section there. There's some little switches towards the top, but all the little red paint, the little yellow paint is cool. Also the inside, let me see if I can get you guys a good shot of this. Yeah, the inside of the like side edge, you can see has like that little like hexagonal pattern, and there's little bits of gack at the bottom, but one of the little gack things that's nice is you can see right next to the edge by the seatbelt is there's some sculpted grenades in there. Now here, let me move the seatbelt, and you can see that there is an empty spot for a grenade to be put in. This comes with 2 grenades, and there's 2 empty grenade holders. There's also a spot here for the grapple gun. I'll show you guys that in a moment, but there's the little spot that you can tuck that in. So a lot of nice little details in this cockpit. Again, more details than I was expecting. I don't really know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting all this. You can see the front of the cockpit there has that little like command thing. There are so many times in Empire Strikes Back where you see the inside POV of Luke's cockpit, and that little command section there in the front is totally what it looks like. So I'm glad that Hasbro included the details. The little black circles, all these little panel things all look great, including the joysticks there. That's a neat touch. Here's a close-up look at Luke's grapple gun. I thought this was a nice accessory for them to include. We also get 2 of these grenades. They're very little, but they are very well sculpted, and I like the gold tip paint. And we also get Dak's helmet. It is made of like a soft kind of rubbery squishy material. Yeah, nice paint though on it. I do like the kind of brown tan wash over the white base. Here's the Dak figure. It's got all the standard Black Series points of articulation that we're used to, so I'm not going to go over them. In fact, if you've seen my Snowspeeder Luke action figure review, then you've already seen it because it's the same goddamn figure. Okay, maybe not the exact same figure. They do have different belts. But there are some nice, details within the paint that are worth noting. Like they did a great job with the little silver bits right there. The general separation between like tan and brown is nice. The little box on his chest is well done. The face looks good as far as eyeballs and eyebrow paint. The only nitpick I have with this, and it's not really a nitpick, but just it is what it is the helmet is actually kind of not as soft as I'd like it to be, and the sides of his head are so wide that it is a bit of a small struggle to get his helmet on, but eventually. I've done it a few times, so it's kind of loosened up a little bit. But the chin strap lines up really nicely, and I think that looks pretty rad. I like that Hasbro included the grapple gun as an accessory. I remember when the Luke figure came out and it had a right-hand trigger finger, I wondered, why does it have a right-hand trigger finger? Now I know why, so he can hold the grapple gun. I think this is a fun little bonus accessory if you already have the Luke figure. Here he is holding a grenade. It doesn't come with a Luke figure, but it still comes with Luke accessories. Awesome. So here we have the cockpit with the grenades plugged in and the grapple gun in its little slot. Getting the figures into the cockpit was pretty easy. Also, plugging in the seat belts is super easy. You just push the little plug into the top of the hole at the top of the seat. I was really surprised by how easy it was to get them to grip their respective controls. Luke holding the joysticks and Dak holding the gunner controls look really good. I'm really happy with how the Snowspeeder looks with both of the figures inside the cockpit, and the fact that they fit rather snugly in there. Their heads don't bump onto anything, and man, it looks good from the front. Like, it looks good from all angles. I really dig how that turned out. Also, I can't stress enough how much I dig the sculpt on this with all the little like nicks and little battle damaged bits that are really well sculpted and well painted. Now this sucker retails for 120 bucks. I see it online for about 120 to 115 to 110 on a lot of sites. For that price, I did expect the plastic to be a little more durable. When you get to like this whole main section where it's screwed down, it's pretty solid, but when you get to the edges here, the little edge of the ship or the little flaps, it is a little softer than I was expecting. So if you are going to display this resting on a surface, I highly recommend you display it with the landing gear down, because if it's resting just on the edges, you might see it bend and warp over time. I really like this vehicle a lot. I can't stress how much I like seeing Luke and Dak through the actual like sides of the cockpit. I love the details on it. I am not thrilled with the gun placement issue that I mentioned earlier. It's a simple fix. If they had just made the plugs go in at a different angle, or made the holes angled inward instead of downward, that would have fixed everything. But there's a lot to like about this. I already went on and on about the quality of the details. Another thing I love is the fact that these little flaps here, they aren't just like a standard hinge. The fact that it's like a two-step, like it's a hinge and then like a lift, as opposed to just a like a sculpted hinge right here at the edge, the way some toys just are. Like the top of this cockpit is. Like, that's a noticeable hinge. They could have done a noticeable hinge here, but the fact that they made it more practical is neat. There's a lot of little practical details. I used to have plenty of toys where you put the figure in the cockpit and it just slid into a generic cockpit. This actually has controls that like the figure can grip. I'm really happy that you can have that level of detail with this vehicle. I am very happy with it. I think it looks great. The playability with it's really awesome. A lot of nice details. I'm a fan. I love the Black Series, and I've always wanted them to do as many vehicles in this scale as possible. It's kind of hard because 6-inch figures are so big. But, we had the TIE Fighter. I'm still dreaming for an X-Wing one day, maybe a B-Wing. Meantime, I think the Snowspeeder is a nice vehicle to add to the Black Series. Here's hoping we get like an X-Wing or an A-Wing next, because, man, this just wet the whistle for me. So yeah, I really dig this. I recommend it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and let me know in the comments, what do you think of this?